Over the past couple weeks, we've been really able to see just how powerful ChatGPT is. We've seen it used for things like writing code, writing books, and even writing essays. We've seen it write fantasy books, we've seen it write code for websites, we've even seen it been used for interior decoration. Previously, I've also tried using ChatGPT to write college essays by giving it information based on made-up personas, and the results were pretty surprising because the essays that they came up with, although they were pretty simplistic, a lot of the core ideas were there, and for an AI, I thought they were pretty good. But when you're applying to colleges, you don't only have the big personal statement to worry about. Depending on the schools you're applying to, you might also have supplemental essays to write. So today I wanted to see if ChatGPT could be used to answer some of those supplemental essay prompts. As someone who had to write a lot of supplemental essays back when I was applying to schools and who has in the time since read a lot of applications, I'll be using the essays that I've read in the past as sort of the bar to see how well ChatGPT can perform, because in my time I've seen a lot of good and bad supplemental essays, so I just want to see how well ChatGPT can do. So let's take a look. Alright, so we're on the ChatGPT website and I'm just going to feed it a bunch of essay prompts from different schools' applications to see what it can come up with. The last time we did this experiment, I gave it information based on this made-up persona called Serena, who was really into conservation work after having traveled a lot with her parents for work when she was young. So just so ChatGPT has some information to go off of, I'm going to continue using this persona. So if you're interested in seeing the essay that it came up with previously and what sort of information I gave it before, you can check out that previous video in one of the corners above. But today we're going to focus just on supplemental essay prompts, so I'm just going to give it some prompts for that. First, I'm going to give it essay prompts from the actual Harvard application because I want to see if the essays it can come up with would be good enough to get it accepted into Harvard. So let's see. One of my most meaningful extracurricular activities has been volunteering at a local animal shelter. Ever since I was a child, I've been passionate about animals and have always felt a strong connection to them. When I learned about the opportunity to volunteer at the shelter, I knew that it was something that I wanted to do. I've been volunteering at the shelter for the past 2 years, and it has been an incredibly rewarding experience. Not only have I had the opportunity to care for and interact with a wide variety of animals, but I've also learned about the importance of animal welfare and the challenges that shelters face in caring for animals in need. One of the most rewarding aspects of volunteering at the shelter has been the opportunity to work with and learn from the dedicated staff and other volunteers. Together, we have helped to care for and find homes for hundreds of animals, and it has been an incredible feeling to know that we are making a positive impact on their lives. Overall, my experience volunteering at the animal shelter has been an incredibly fulfilling and enriching experience. It has deepened my love for animals and has taught me the importance of compassion and responsibility towards all living beings. I would say that overall this essay isn't that bad, and honestly it's actually pretty good. It has a lot of the core principles that you would want to see in an extracurricular activity essay, where you elaborate on the activity more and also talk about what you learned from that activity. I do think that the overall format and structure of the essay is a bit basic, but honestly, you can't really do too much with ChatGPT in its current state. This essay is probably better than some of the ones that I've read in the past, and I do think it's good that it talked about volunteering at an animal shelter because that does align with what Serena's overall character profile is, because her Common App essay was also about traveling and seeing animals and doing that sort of thing. So volunteering at an animal shelter is pretty in character for her. So I am pretty glad that ChatGPT was able to pick up on that and pick an activity that aligned with her overall profile. Not too bad. All right, so now I'm going to give it another prompt from the same Harvard application. And again, I'm going to ask it to write an essay based on that prompt and to make sure that that essay is within the word limit. Let's see what it comes up with. In addition to my academic pursuits, I have also pursued a number of intellectual activities outside of school. One of the most significant of these has been my involvement in a research internship at a local conservation organization. During the internship, I worked closely with a team of scientists and other researchers to study the impacts of climate change on local ecosystems. I was responsible for collecting and analyzing data, as well as for writing reports and presenting our findings at conferences. This experience not only helped me to develop my research skills, but it also gave me the opportunity to learn about the importance of conservation and the ways in which we can protect our planet and its inhabitants. Another intellectual activity that I have pursued outside of my school is my participation in an online course on animal behavior and cognition. This course was not offered by my school, but I was able to enroll through a third-party provider. Through this course, I was able to learn about the latest research in the field and gain a deeper understanding of the ways in which animals think and communicate. Overall, my participation in these intellectual activities has allowed me to pursue my interests and passions beyond the classroom and has helped me to develop a more well-rounded understanding of the world around me. Okay, I would say that this essay is actually really well put together. I will say that the first and last paragraphs are kind of fluff and they don't really need to be there, and cutting them out would leave more room for developing the two things that she talks about, which are the research internship and the class on animal behavior. I think elaborating more on those using the word space that you save from cutting out the first and last paragraphs would be really good. But overall, I would say these two things are pretty solid. Having a research internship is definitely a big plus for your college applications, and taking an additional class based on an academic interest that you have is also really good because it shows interest in that subject. So overall, I would say this essay is actually really good. The only thing that's really holding it back at this point is the limitations in how complex the sentence structure that ChatGPT can come up with. But other than that, I think this is a really solid essay. All right, so for the last essay prompt from the Harvard application, they don't actually have a set defined prompt. It's kind of up to you what to write about. They do give you some ideas of what you could potentially write about though. So I'm gonna go with that. It's an essay prompt asking about how you're gonna contribute to your fellow classmates if you are admitted into Harvard. So let's have it write an essay based on that. And again, we're gonna ask it to write an essay based on the word limit. This essay is actually 650 words, which is a bit longer than the last two, so let's see what it can come up with. As a student at Harvard College, I am excited to be part of a community of individuals who are committed to making a positive impact on society. I believe that the mission of the college, to educate students to be citizen leaders, is an important one, and I'm eager to contribute to the lives of my classmates in advancing this mission. One way that I would like to contribute is by participating in initiatives that seek to address social and environmental issues. I'm particularly interested in issues related to conservation and sustainability, and I believe there are many ways in which students can make a difference in these areas. For example, I would like to work with my classmates to develop and implement initiatives that promote sustainable practices on campus, such as recycling programs and campaigns to reduce energy consumption. I would also like to participate in efforts to raise awareness about the importance of conservation and the ways in which we can all take action to protect the environment. In addition to working on social and environmental issues, I believe that I can contribute to the lives of my classmates by serving as a mentor and role model. Throughout my time in school, I have always enjoyed helping others and have found that I have a natural ability to connect with people and provide support and guidance. I would like to use these skills to help my classmates achieve their academic and personal goals and to provide a listening ear when they need it. Another way that I would like to contribute is by participating in extracurricular activities and organizations that seek to build community and foster a sense of belonging. Throughout my time in school, I have found that participating in extracurricular activities has been a great way to meet new people, learn new skills, and make a positive impact on the community. I would like to continue this tradition at Harvard College by joining clubs and organizations that align with my interests and values, and by working with my classmates to create a sense of belonging and support within our community. Overall, I believe there are many ways in which I can contribute to the lives of my classmates in advancing the mission of Harvard College, whether by working on social and environmental issues, serving as a mentor and role model, or participating in extracurricular activities. I'm committed to making a positive impact on my community and to being a citizen leader for society. This essay, I would say, is not as strong as the last two. I think this one, honestly, might not even be 650 words to begin with. And the things it does talk about, I think, are pretty general. I think the first one is okay, talking about initiatives to address social and environmental issues. That kind of aligns with what Serena's whole deal is. But the other two things, talking about being a role model and participating in extracurricular activities, I think are pretty general and not really too specific. These things are totally fine to talk about, but I would have liked to see more specific details about things at Harvard and things related to Serena's whole character profile that kind of coincide with one another and would help to support her application. All right, so next, just for fun, I want to see how ChatGPT would do with some of the other prompts from other applications. So I'm going to ask it one from the Stanford application. This essay is asking about a historical event that the student wishes they could have witnessed. So I want to see what ChatGPT can come up with for Serena. If I could witness any historical moment or event, I would choose to be present at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. This document marked a turning point in history and established the United States as a nation dedicated to the principles of liberty and justice for all. To be a witness to such a monumentous occasion would be an incredible opportunity and one that I would treasure forever. All right, so I will say right off the bat, this essay is not that good. It is very generic, as the Declaration of Independence, or like specifically its signing, I think is a very common historical event that a student might talk about. And it doesn't really align with any of the values that Serena has shown throughout her essays so far. So I want to see if I can prod it a little bit to see if it can give me something more specific to Serena. All right, yeah, the moon landing, not that specific either. Let's see if I give it something a little bit more specific. If I could witness any historical moment or event, I would choose to be present at the signing of the Endangered Species Act. As someone who is passionate about animals and conservation, the opportunity to witness this important legislation being passed would be a dream come true. The Endangered Species Act has helped to protect countless species and has played a critical role in the conservation of our planet's biodiversity. To be a witness to such a monumentous occasion would be an incredible opportunity and one that I would treasure forever. All right, so this essay is more specific to Serena and her interest of animals and conservation, but overall I think the essay comes off a bit bland. There isn't really anything too specific. And again, the overall structuring of this essay is pretty simple and doesn't have too much spice that you want to see in these essays. And yeah, I don't think it's that good of an essay, honestly. All right, so next I'm gonna give it a prompt from the UChicago application, because UChicago is known for having some like pretty interesting prompts. So I want to see what this can come up with. All right, so this prompt is asking about if you could give a historical figure any piece of technology, who and what would it be and why. So let's see what it comes up with. If I could give any historical figure a piece of technology, I would choose to give Mahatma Gandhi a smartphone. Gandhi was a leader who was deeply committed to social justice and change, and I believe that a smartphone would have been an incredibly powerful tool for him to further his goals. With a smartphone, Gandhi could have used social media and other platforms to connect with a wider audience and to amplify his message of nonviolence and civil disobedience. He could have used the phone's camera to document injustices and to share them with the world, and he could have used the phone's GPS to plan and organize protests and other events. I believe that Gandhi and a smartphone would work well together because they both represent the power of communication and the ability to affect change. Gandhi's message of nonviolence and civil disobedience has inspired millions of people around the world, and I believe that a smartphone would have given him the ability to reach an even wider audience and to make an even greater impact. Overall, I think that Gandhi and a smartphone would be a powerful combination that could help to bring about positive change in the world. This essay I'm pretty impressed by, just because it was able to actually answer the essay prompt of pairing a historical figure with a piece of technology, and the actual essay it came up with isn't that bad. Like, the ideas it talks about and the justifications for giving Gandhi a smartphone I think are there and are pretty valid. The only downside to this is that it doesn't really relate to any of the things that Serena's talked about in previous essays. I think it would have been nice to see if she could talk about something more related to conservation, like maybe having something about like Rachel Carson or something. I don't really know any other conservationists. That's the first thing that came to mind. And some other piece of technology that would be like a quirky combination, but it came up with this, which I think is pretty all right. So overall, not too bad. All right, so the last prompt we're gonna look at is from the Yale application. And the application is essentially just why you want to go to Yale. So I wanna see if it can give any convincing reasons for why Serena should go to Yale. There are many reasons why I've chosen to apply to Yale, but one of the most significant is the university's commitment to sustainability and the environment. As someone who is passionate about conservation and the natural world, I believe that Yale's focus on these issues aligns perfectly with my interests and goals. I'm particularly impressed by Yale's efforts to reduce its environmental impact and to promote sustainability on campus. From the university's recycling programs to its commitment to renewable energy, Yale is leading the way in creating a more sustainable future. I'm also excited about the opportunity to study at Yale School of the Environment, which is widely regarded as one of the top programs of its kind in the country. Overall, I believe that Yale is a perfect place for me to continue my education and to pursue my passions. I'm confident that the university's commitment to sustainability and the environment will provide me with the tools and resources I need to make a positive impact on the world. Overall, I would say that this essay is mediocre at best. I think the reasons it talks about in the first paragraph are pretty vague and non-specific, and honestly, you could probably say about many other schools, and I'm not even sure if this is true about Yale. For the second paragraph, I like that it talked about the School of the Environment, which is something more specific to Yale. Honestly, I don't even know if Yale has a School of the Environment or if that's just something that the ChatGPT made up, but it's there. And the third paragraph is just fluff. It doesn't really provide any new information, and it just repeats things that have already been mentioned previously. So overall, I would say that this essay is not that good. I would have liked to see it talk more about specific things available at Yale that align with her interest in like animals and conservation and that sort of thing. But I think this is just a limitation of the training data that ChatGPT has. Since it allegedly doesn't have access to the internet, I guess it just couldn't pull that specific information about Yale. So it just gave this vague talk about sustainability and the environment. But yeah, not that good of an essay, I think. All right, so now that we've taken a look at a number of different supplemental essays that ChatGPT was able to come up with for multiple different schools, the question remains, would ChatGPT be enough to get you into Harvard? No, not even close. I think the essays that it was able to come up with do have good ideas, at least to start off with, but the overall essay itself is not up to quality, at least in my opinion. I think the structuring of the essays is pretty simple, and you want to have something more complex and sophisticated. And in terms of the actual content of the essays themselves, I think the overall ideas are there, but they just don't have enough detail and nuance with them to constitute an actual good essay. So this means that the overall essays ChatGPT was able to come up with come off as pretty non-specific, a little bit bland, not that good. So I would say that at least for Harvard and Stanford and UChicago and Yale, which were the other schools whose prompts we looked at, the essays that ChatGPT comes up with would not be enough to get a person into those schools, even if you gave it enough information, just because ChatGPT doesn't have the ability to write in a sophisticated enough manner, and it can't really add enough nuance that you want in those essays. And given the training data it's going off of, it may not have access to the specific information about each school that would help give your essay more unique qualities and help it stand out more in terms of like talking about things that are more specific to you and your interest about that school. So final verdict, these essays would not be able to get you into these schools. So for you watching at home, if you were thinking about using ChatGPT to write your college essays, you probably shouldn't, at least if you're applying to these top universities. Honestly, I would say that these essays are probably good enough to get you into less competitive schools, because although the essays themselves weren't that sophisticated in writing style, a lot of the core ideas were not that bad, and I think they would be enough to get you into some other schools that are not Harvard. Once again, this has been a really fun experiment to see just how powerful ChatGPT is, and thank you to the comment in the previous video who said that I should try this out with supplemental essays. So if you guys have any other ideas for what I should use ChatGPT for and see what else it can do, please leave a comment down below. But otherwise, for all of you guys who are currently applying to colleges, I wish you the best of luck. If you're interested in seeing some of the essays that ChatGPT was able to come up with for the Common App essay, check out this video here, or feel free to check out any of the other videos that I have on my channel.